It's a cold night at the Santiago Bernabeu. A legend sits on the bench, unmoved, unbothered, and unwanted. The same player who once silenced this very stadium with goals that defied logic is now met with whistles instead of cheers. For years, Gareth Bale was the man for the biggest stages, the player who turned finals into his own arena and delivered when pressure crushed others. But somewhere along the line, admiration turned into resentment. He became a symbol, not of success, but of frustration. What went wrong between Gareth Bale and Real Madrid? Was it attitude? Was it misunderstanding? Or was it the price of being an outsider in a club that demands more than brilliance? You're watching Inside Football Stories, where we break down the iconic moments, messy transitions, and untold truths behind football's biggest clubs and legends. And this is the story of a legend, the man who conquered everything, yet became an outcast at Real Madrid. When Real Madrid announced Gareth Bale in 2013, it wasn't just a transfer, it was a statement. The most expensive signing in football history. €100 million for a player who just conquered the Premier League with speed, power, and grace. The world's eyes turned to the Bernabeu. Madrid had done it again, another Galactico. For the fans, it was the continuation of a dream. For Florentino Perez, it was another jewel in the empire he'd been building. And for Bale, it was the biggest stage of his life. A quiet boy from Cardiff, now standing among the brightest stars in world football. He wasn't just joining a team, he was joining a dynasty. Cristiano Ronaldo, Karim Benzema, Luka Modric, and now Gareth Bale. The Spanish press called it the perfect storm. And for a moment, it looked exactly that way. Bale's debut season had everything Real Madrid could ask for. Goals, assists, explosive runs that tore defenses apart. He was fearless, and when the lights were brightest, he delivered. Madrid fans still remember that Copa del Rey final when he sprinted from his own half, brushed past Bartra, and scored a goal that defied physics. And just weeks later in Lisbon, he rose above everyone to score the goal that sealed La Decima, the long-awaited 10th European crown. Bale had arrived. The Welshman who once watched the Champions League on TV was now its hero. Everything seemed perfect. A Galactico fulfilling his destiny. Madrid had found their next great match winner, and Bale looked destined to be remembered alongside Ronaldo and Zidane. But in Madrid, perfection is a fragile thing. Behind the trophies and headlines, cracks were beginning to form. Quiet ones at first. Whispers in the media, tension in the dressing room. A feeling that not everyone had truly welcomed him in. And slowly, the glow of that golden arrival began to fade. What started as a dream move was about to become something else entirely. Every fairy tale in Madrid comes with pressure, and Bale's was no different. After the glory of La Decima, expectations rose sky high. He wasn't just another player now. He was the 100 million man, the chosen one meant to share the stage with Cristiano Ronaldo. But sharing the spotlight at Real Madrid is never simple. This was Cristiano's kingdom, and every goal, every cheer, every camera flash revolved around him. Bale, quiet by nature, never tried to compete. He wasn't the kind to pose for headlines or charm the Spanish press. He just wanted to play football. And for a while, he did. He scored, assisted, and kept Madrid in the hunt for more silverware. But slowly, the tone around him began to change. Spanish journalists complained about his lack of Spanish. Pundits called him distant. Some fans began to see him not as part of Madrid, but apart from Madrid. Then came the injuries, minor ones at first, hamstrings, calves, a muscle here and there, but each one chipped away at the image of the unstoppable superstar they'd paid for. And in Madrid, patience is a currency that runs out quickly. The whispers grew louder. Too fragile, too quiet, too comfortable. Even as he helped the team to another Champions League, the narrative had shifted. To many in Spain, Bale was talented, but not committed. Behind the scenes, things weren't much better. Reports of dressing room coldness began to surface. Teammates joked about his love for golf. The media turned it into an obsession. Wales, golf, Madrid, in that order. It became more than a joke. It became his label. And through it all, Bale stayed silent. No interviews, no public defense, just quiet professionalism and a growing distance from the world around him. What had started as whispers of concern was now becoming a wall of criticism. The same fans who once adored him began to question whether he ever truly belonged. And yet, on the biggest nights, he still delivered. Goals that won trophies, performances that silenced doubt for a while. But even as he lifted more cups, the space between Gareth Bale and Real Madrid kept growing wider. The fairy tale was cracking, and the storm was about to arrive. Every relationship has a moment when things can no longer go back to how they were. For Gareth Bale and Real Madrid, that moment came slowly and then all at once. The media had already turned against him. Every missed game was a headline. Every injury, a debate. Was he really hurt? Or just unwilling to play through the pain? Fans who once cheered his name now booed when he touched the ball. They didn't see the player who delivered them trophies. They saw a man collecting wages while watching from the sidelines. And then came the golf flag. Wales, golf, Madrid, in that order. A moment meant as a joke, but in Madrid, it was an insult carved in stone. To Spanish media, it confirmed everything they'd been saying, that Bale didn't care, that he was done with the club, that he had chosen comfort over commitment. Bale tried to smile it off, but deep down, the damage was irreversible. Trust was gone, respect was gone, and perhaps love was gone too. Even his relationship with Zidane broke apart. The coach who once believed in him now barely looked his way. Finals were played without him. Benches became his new home. And when the camera found him, it found a man smiling, but broken inside. Every whistle from the Bernabeu was a reminder of how far he'd fallen, from the hero of Kiev to the forgotten man. But here's the paradox. Whenever Bale did play, he still produced magic. Goals, assists, moments that mattered. It was proof that the talent never left, only the trust did. And yet Real Madrid kept winning. Titles, trophies, glory, with or without him. And that made it worse, because now, even success no longer needed Gareth Bale. He had conquered everything, Champions Leagues, La Ligas, Cup finals, but he was no longer wanted. The fairy tale was over. The chapter was closing, and Bale knew it even before Madrid did. By 2020, Gareth Bale was a ghost at Real Madrid, still under contract, still world-class, but barely playing. His relationship with Zinedine Zidane had collapsed. Communication was minimal, trust was gone, and when Zidane was asked why Bale wasn't in the squad, his reply was short: "It's better this way." The image of Bale laughing on the bench while Madrid struggled became a symbol, for some, of disrespect, for others, of defiance. Either way, it was the beginning of the end. Loaned back to Tottenham in 2020, he showed flashes of his old brilliance, the speed, the power, the finishing that once defined him. But even then, it felt like a man playing for peace, not redemption. When he returned to Madrid the following season, there was no ceremony, no celebration, just silence. By then, Bale had become a background figure in his own story. No longer the star, no longer the villain, just a name on the roster, waiting for the curtain to fall. In 2022, when Real Madrid lifted another Champions League trophy, Bale was there, in the background, clapping quietly. No interviews, no fanfare, just the shadow of what once was. And when he finally announced his departure, he did not leave like the legend he became at Madrid. No press conference, no long farewell speech, no tears in front of the fans. Gareth Bale's goodbye to Real Madrid was as quiet as his arrival had been explosive. After 9 years, 5 Champions League titles, and countless defining moments, it all ended in silence. He left not through the front gate, but through a side door. No banners, no send-off at the Bernabeu, just a short post on social media and a flight home. For many fans, it felt incomplete. How could a player who gave them so much leave with so little ceremony? But perhaps that was the point. Bale never played for applause. He played for moments, the kind that last longer than memories. While others chased adoration, he chased the feeling of freedom on the pitch. When he scored, He rarely over-celebrated. When he was criticized, he rarely fought back. He simply moved on. His departure wasn't about revenge or bitterness or regret. It was closure. Even in silence, he left behind echoes of finals won, of trophies lifted, of goals that will forever replay in Madrid's history. And when the Bernabeu crowd next chanted another hero's name, a faint shadow remained, the reminder of a player who once did it all and never asked for much in return. His last days in Madrid were calm, almost peaceful. He smiled on the bench, he laughed with teammates, and when he finally walked away, it was without fanfare, just quiet dignity. Sometimes the loudest goodbyes are the ones never spoken. Gareth Bale's story at Real Madrid will forever divide opinion. To some, he was distant, a superstar who never truly adapted. To others, he was the ultimate professional, a player who delivered when it mattered most. Every great story has two sides, the one that's told and the one that's lived. For Gareth Bale, the story most people heard was simple. A brilliant player who lost his passion, who smiled on the bench, and who fell out with a club that once adored him. But if you look closer, you may see something else. You may see a footballer who never chased fame, only freedom, who didn't need headlines to validate his craft, who let his moments, not his words, speak for him. And what moments they were. A sprint that defied physics, a volley that rewrote finals, a collection of goals that turned history into highlight reels. 5 European Cups, 5, more than most legends could ever dream of. Yet when people talk about Real Madrid's icons, his name often comes with an asterisk. Because he didn't dance, because he didn't charm, because he never tried to be someone he wasn't. Some say he never loved Madrid, but maybe it's Madrid that never truly loved him back. Still, history has a way of softening the noise. Years from now, when the gossip fades, only the goals will remain. The finals he saved, the nights he defined, the legacy he left, quiet, powerful, undeniable. Time may never repair the bond between him and the Bernabeu, but it will preserve the truth. He was one of the greatest big-game players of his generation. A legend, misunderstood maybe, but a legend nonetheless. I'm your host, and this has been Inside Football Stories, where we revisit the iconic moments, messy transitions, and untold truths behind football's biggest clubs and legends. Stay tuned, stay curious, stay inside football.